a-hole for refusing to help mend my son's and his mom's relationship? I married the wicked witch of the East, and the only good thing that came out of that was my son Jeremy, who is now 16. My ex and I fought hard over custody and other stuff. Ironically, she made herself unavailable for parenting when everything was said and done. Literally every picture or video she has of our son that isn't a school or sports picture has whatever man she was with at a time. Basically, I raised my son as a single dad from the time he was 8. I did remarry, and I'm happy that my son sees how couples are to respect and honor each other. There was a lot of tension brewing between my ex and my son as he started to see her for what she really is. It exploded when she posted a picture of him and her and wrote this horrible post filled with lies about me and my wife. For example, she claimed I cheated on her with my current wife, when I did not even meet my current wife until a year after we divorced. My son is very close with my wife and his half-brothers, and he lost it on her and told her not to contact him again. He hasn't replied to her text or voicemails or emails. At first, she dug in on her lies saying it was her truth, but that she forgives me for things I didn't do. My son still didn't bite, and now told her not to come to his sporting games when they start. Well, I just passed the message. My ex is now telling me that it's on me to help her mend the relationship. I said I want nothing to do with her either. Her attack on me was because I don't have to pay her child support anymore, and her husband left her, and I'm just letting my son decide who he wants to talk or not talk to. I don't believe this is all about defending me as much as my son was embarrassed by his mom airing dirty laundry on IG. I have zero interest in being the nice guy. I believed in letting my ex reap what she sowed. I'm her enemy, and I'm not going to, and I'm not obligated to help her. Now for the top comments. Do not get between them. This is a fight your wife picked. Important not to badmouth your ex to your son. Be careful even in conversations with your ex. She could be recording you and can twist your words to your son. Not the a-hole. Trying to help the situation may sound like you are somehow guilty. Best to let your ex handle it by herself and offer support to your son. My sympathies to you and your son. I feel like my dad could have written this 20 years ago. My mom was exactly the same as your ex-OP. And my dad had me living with him 50% of the time from when they got divorced when I was 5 until at 11 when I moved in full-time. I'm 36 now, and my dad is still one of my very best friends and favorite people. We talk every day, even though I live 6 hours away. You're not the a-hole. Your son is 16, not 6. He's old enough to decide who he wants to talk to and have a relationship with. Your ex made this mess, and it is not on you to clean it up. I agree with what the previous commenter said. Be careful to make sure you aren't actively bad-mouthing your ex too, or in front of your son. He's seeing her for what she is, and the rose-colored glasses are shattered. I now have a little boy of my own, and I pray I'm as good as a mother as my dad was a father. My dad is very close with my husband, my son, my sister, my in-laws, while my mother and I speak again, but it's on my terms. She can't push me around like she could when I was 6, and I'm fierce when it comes to my son. She used to do stuff like travel across the country to see my stepsister's children with her husband, but wouldn't meet me an hour and a half away, which is midpoint for us, to see my son for lunch. She forgot his birthday when he was 2, so I laid a law down and said I won't tolerate a half-baked relationship with him. She either treats him the same or just can't see him. I'm not going to let her mess with a sense of self-worth like she did with me. And that may be something that you do want to talk to your son about. Without insulting your ex, talk to him about how he feels about the whole thing. Ask him. Tell him that he is a great kid and that both of you are very lucky to be his parents. Make sure that she hasn't been trashing him on social media too. That kind of thing can really mess with your head when you're a teenager. I wish you the best. You sound like a wonderful father, not the a-hole. Why do you have to pay your child support if your son was with you from age 8? Shouldn't she have been paying you? Not the a-hole. Your son is old enough to make his own decisions about these things. Even if any of the things she said were true, she shouldn't be plastering it all over social media like that. That's the point. We had 50-50, but it was always like 80-20. I was fine paying child support if it meant I could have him 80-20. But when he turned 15 and could decide where he wanted to stay, I took my ex back to court and was ordered to stop paying child support. Now she pays a lot for him, which she wasn't expecting but thought her husband would pay. He ended up divorcing her instead. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's girlfriend the truth about why I have limited contact with them? I'm number 2 of 4 sisters. I had a good childhood in terms of having good food to eat, nice clothes, education, etc. But I didn't have a good childhood in terms of a loving environment. My dad screamed at my mom all the time and called her names and compared us to other kids. These are just a couple of things. There's a lot more. And of course, he was always right. He could never be wrong. He did a lot of charity and helped other people, so Mom would always say what a good guy he is, and we should be grateful for him. Me and my sisters also managed to ignore everything when we were younger and didn't know better. Then a few years ago, there was a situation, I don't know how else to put it, with my older sister that finally made Mom take off her rose-colored glasses, and she filed for divorce. And I have limited contact with him now. He has a new girlfriend who he's been with for about a year. I've met her once and she did seem nice, but I just don't want much to do with him. Not that long ago, his girlfriend DM'd me asking if I'd like to meet up with her for coffee and that she wanted to talk to me. So I said okay, and we had lunch a few days ago. She asked me why I was so distant from my dad, and if it's something she did, or if she made us feel uncomfortable, and she would like to get to know us and clear the air. I said it's not anything like that, had nothing to do with her. I eventually told her about what type of dad he was, how he treated my mom and all that. She seemed sort of shocked at first, and I think she thought I was exaggerating. I didn't really know what to say, so I just replied this is what he was like with us and this is why I limit contact. She obviously talked to Dad about this, and he called me asking why I said that to his girlfriend. I replied she asked for the truth, so I told her the truth, but he said he's upset I tried to make him look bad, and I'm one-sided. I wouldn't care what he thinks, but my younger sister thinks I shouldn't have told her all that and just let them be. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm guessing your dad led her to believe it was her fault why y'all didn't go around. So I don't blame her for being concerned at asking for the truth, which you gave her. When she confronted your dad, he again wants to spread the fault instead of accepting it. Granted, there's always two sides to every marriage, but he's not accepting or owning up to his side. Two sides to a marriage, sure, but he also mistreated his kids. Dude's just abusive and doesn't want the new girl to know yet cause he's still trying to honeymoon her. Yep, he is probably love-bombing her and trying to spin a narrative about his past. I hope she sees through it. She asked me why I'm so distant from my dad. Not the a-hole. She asked for your side and you gave it. And I'm one-sided. Yep, but you aren't obligated to be some impartial reporter, and everyone should know this. For my interest, what is your other sister's relationship with your dad like? My younger sisters feel the same way as me, but they're just not so vocal about it, if that makes sense. Like they'll go along with what he says for the sake of keeping the peace. Not the a-hole, but it's really sad that your sisters feel the same way as you, but they go along with what he says to keep the peace. Expert manipulators know this tactic very well, and they weaponize it magnificently, to the confusion and emotional detriment of their loved ones. But here's the rock-solid and hard truth about going along to keep the peace. Those who are warned to keep the peace are never the ones threatening the peace in the first place. Peace becomes the true and ultimate casualty of the narcissist. Next story. Am I the a-hole for showing off my baby in front of my infertile cousin? I got pregnant at 17, a couple months before I graduated high school. I was subject to relentless bullying from classmates, teachers, and random adults. My cousin attended the same high school as me and was in the same year, and was considered popular among our peers. And she was one of the people who tormented me the most. She was relentless and made my life miserable, along with her complicit mother/my aunt, who loved to make comments too. My parents ended up falling out with them over this, so it was minimum contact for years. My life was miserable because of them mostly, but I got through it. My then boyfriend got a job and I did my degree online while working part-time, and we got through it. We are now married and both have very well-paying jobs. I now have a 6-year-old and another baby on the way, and I wouldn't change a thing. My parents adore their granddaughter, and her great-grandparents absolutely spoil her, and love it too. Our families eventually made up too through our grandparents, though this is fairly recent, and I don't see my cousin that much as I do resent her. My cousin is unable to get pregnant and is medically infertile. Her and her husband tried for a long time, and her husband recently left her because he wants biological kids, and she is understandably devastated. It was my mother's birthday and the whole family attended to get together. I showed my mom the scans and revealed a pregnancy at the party, and my mother and everyone else was overjoyed. My cousin didn't say much, neither did her mom, but I thought that's fair enough. Later on, I was cuddling my daughter and being silly with her, and everyone was telling me how lovely she is, and how lucky I am. My cousin got up, left, and slammed the door. Everyone said to let her salt, So her mom took her side and said I was being super insensitive and should apologize. I told her I still haven't received an apology for their abortion and S-word comments, so I won't be apologizing to anyone. So she left too. My family's divided. Some think I should apologize to keep the peace. Some say I have done nothing wrong. I think I maybe should have been more sensitive, as I see where it could have been salt to the wound, but I'm unsure on apologizing. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You don't stop celebrating life because someone else can't produce it. Sometimes karma isn't a pain. Sometimes karma has your back. It should never be on the bullied to apologize to keep the peace. Put the onus on the ones responsible for the lack of peace to begin with, not the a-hole. Yes, do they understand what an apology is? Do they expect OP to sit there and express sincere regret for having a lovely child and being pregnant? Not the a-hole. Karma. Do they really expect you to not treat your child with love and affection because they're around? Sounds like they're still the same a-holes they were when you were in high school. Feels like OP and the mom could have intentionally laid it on a little thick. The cousin was definitely a prick as a teen, but we only know the story from the side of someone that still actively dislikes the woman. Who cares? She's an adult now and can apologize for how she was a teen. She could even form a new relationship with OP's kids if she wanted to. Not the a-hole. You have nothing to apologize for. People say keep the peace because they're afraid of the other's anger/reactions. That just allows bullies to keep being bullies. All you can say to your cousin and aunt is karma. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife what to do with the money her dying dad is leaving us? Title is a bit hyperbolic as I'm not telling her what to do. I'm just trying to veto one thing she wants to use it for. My 30s male father-in-law was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer. It came out of the blue, and a huge shock for the family, and my wife is obviously not handling it well. He's let us know that he will be leaving a few $100,000 to my wife and her brother. We're pretty solid financially. I don't really need the money, so I thought we'd stick almost all of it into our children's college fund, wedding fund, down payment fund, and our retirement fund. Now, my wife's brother is quite a wealthy real estate agent, and he's been telling my wife all about his plan to pool the money to buy land and build a family cabin to honor their dad. Cool idea on the surface, but he's just not the type of person I would want to own something with. He's ruthless and lives by ethics and morals I don't agree with. The big issue is my brother-in-law is native while my wife was adopted into the family. Because of this, she can't actually own the land or cabin. It would be technically all his. I don't think throwing all that money to something that we will have no control over is a wise idea, and we could really set up our kids with that money. Now, obviously my wife is quite upset with me. It has essentially said I have no say in how the money is spent, which is odd for us because we have joint accounts for everything. All of our money always becomes our money. I think she's just stricken with grief. It isn't thinking rationally. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. OP, I have a feeling that the answers you are going to receive here will be very similar to the ones I'll share below. I would share this thread with your wife once it's hit a general consensus. This sounds like a truly terrible idea for all those involved, with the obvious exception your brother-in-law. Inheritance is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and should be a safety net for all of the things that you named above that sound like they are all well-planned, like wedding, college, retirement, etc. Biggest element against your brother-in-law's idea is, if your partner were to pass away or become incapacitated, you would have no legal right to this shared property, which could leave you and your children in a very poor situation. This among all of the potential downfalls of sharing property with someone that you typically don't agree with. As he would be the owner, your opinions and wishes will always be second. What I would suggest to your wife if I were in your shoes, put the money in a trust intended for the children. That way, pure and unbiased as is no longer a direct benefit to you. Thanks. It's a tough situation because he's very persuasive and is pulling heartstrings hard. I can't argue with him directly as I feel that would be inappropriate, especially because my father-in-law is still alive. It's too bad he's ill, because the quickest way to shut this nonsense down would be to tell her brother to dad. I would never. You just don't talk about stuff like that in our family. Not the a-hole. I would wait until things aren't so fresh. Your wife basically wants to throw the money away. She will have no control and no ownership. I would take her to talk to an attorney about this investment. They will tell her it's a bad idea, and hopefully she will listen. It's an often used rule of thumb to not do anything big for a year after a significant emotional event. Maybe post it as this to your wife. Honey, let's delay making a decision for some time, and let us focus on properly celebrating your father's life and mourning his passing. When enough time has passed and we feel ready, we can discuss this again. And if brother-in-law keeps pushing, just repeat the above to him. Honestly, it may make him seem heartless if he doesn't stop pushing, and could show your wife why this cabin idea as he is presenting it is a bad idea for your family. Sorry for your family's loss. It seems like you're looking out for your wife and family like a good dad should. Find a native attorney from your wife's nation if you can. They'll know the relevant law, and your wife will be more likely to hear what they are saying.